I gotta give you guys some advice. Buy physical games while you can. Because I'm telling you guys, in the future, actually physically owning something is gonna be a huge deal.
What it do, bruh? Talk of the town, Nintendo, Doc Trey, still holding it down, still make the best games, and you know this, bro. It's the truth. If you don't like it, you can have that seatbelt.
So, I think it would be in Nintendo's favor for them to actually officially address the game key card situation, because a lot of people are highly upset with this. They are not happy. Like, there's a lot of people at least claiming that they refuse to buy any game key card titles. And that's a big deal, because I'm telling you, at least going by now, the large majority of third-party games are going to be game key card games. So if they're telling you, if your audience is telling you that they're not going to buy any of those. Now, I don't know if they're saying they won't buy game key card versions of games, meaning they will go for the digital version, but in that case, I'm actually kind of confused. Like, oh, I refuse to buy the game key card because you got to download it. Here, I'm gonna buy it off eShop and download it. So that part I don't understand. So maybe they just mean they won't buy the game at all on Switch 2. But if that's the case, Nintendo really needs to address the situation. They need to explain just why they went, or in my belief, had to go probably with that route. And I think if they actually explain, like, not everyone is, there's going to be people that are still going to refuse to buy it. But if Nintendo actually explains the reasoning and the logic behind going with the game key cards, I think that would definitely help. Because I pointed this out in a couple videos, but I'm sure there are reasons why, from the game file size increasing to the cost of these new cards. Because one thing that people aren't taking into consideration is that these aren't the same carts that the original Switch used. Just like how the Switch 2 cannot use the you can't save your games using the old micro SD cards that we use on the Switch. You have to use the express versions. This is the same. Like, these are faster cards than what we use in the Switch, and there's a cost associated with that. Now, if the reason that Nintendo doesn't have that many sizes available of these carts, they need to say so. Because Nintendo themselves aren't manufacturing, just like with the Switch, they aren't the company manufacturing these cards. So they can only do what and give what's available to them. So if the company that they're using does not have these specific cards available in different sizes, they need to be transparent to the fans and tell them, yeah, this is the reason why. And I'm sure a lot of people will understand if they realize that it's because there was no real choice. Or if, like I pointed out before, if third-party games and cementing third-party support was the reason for these game keys, they need to say so, because Nintendo's over here taking headshots for something that potentially isn't really their fault. Now, people will look at it like, oh, of course it's Nintendo's fault. It's their platform. If third parties went to Nintendo and said, the only way we'll be able to support your system with these big games is for you to come up with this solution, what are they supposed to do? Are they supposed to, go screw yourself? We just need a few third parties a year? Like, come on. You guys saw what happened with the Wii U. Nintendo is not going to repeat that. So they have to kind of tread a little bit softly when it comes to third-party support. Because like we've seen, it can disappear in a flash. All right? So yeah, I think that Nintendo, they need to be more transparent with this, even if it comes to down to just an interview or something that they put on their website, like when they were discussing how they developed the Switch 2. But there needs to be some kind of statement from Nintendo detailing why they went the game key card route. They need to do that, because they're getting a lot of bad press around this, and they're getting a lot of negativity around something that potentially was out of their hands. They need to discuss it. Somebody needs to discuss it, but they shouldn't beat around the bush with this, because this could, even if it's down to availability of the cards or the carts, potentially they could introduce different file sizes of these and not have to rely on these game key cards. This could be something that is just a major issue at launch while they're waiting for other sizes to be available. But if that's the case, they need to say so. I mean, because it was actually a similar thing that happened with the original Switch. There was no 32 gig carts available because they were too expensive, and even 16 gig carts were hard to come by. That's why in the beginning you even had games that needed a download even though they're in a cart, because a lot of those games were using 8 gig carts, because there was multiple sizes for the Switch 1 carts. Like I said, they went all the way down to even 1 gig, and those were of course used by mostly like indie games. But there was a 1 gig cart, I believe 2 gig cart, 4, 8, 16, and 32, which you see rarely got used. But the 16 gigabyte cart was the one that most third parties used. But it looks like maybe this time there is no equivalent of that 16 gig cart, and then most of these third party games, they're going to be way more than 16 gigs anyway. So the question though is, how much of the data is actually on the game key card, or is it just a code that takes you to just download the entire game? Now, what's really interesting though about these game key cards is people were worried about losing access to being able to download these games once there's no longer on Nintendo servers. But what is the difference between that and downloading the games digitally? Because are they not coming from the same server? So that's the part that Nintendo needs to clarify, and they need to also reassure Nintendo fans that we will be able to re-download and download these game key cards for a very, very long time, if not forever. So Nintendo definitely needs to address that, because it's not looking good. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section.